It's been so long. Let's film this YouTube video. Hello, everyone. It has been such a long time since I've been with you. And some of you are probably asking why. Some of you probably may have not noticed. Some of you may have noticed, but maybe you're not asking why. Regardless of where you sit and where you fit, we have a lot of updates. Let's get started. So, update 1, which is basically the most important update. My mom had a really scary health scare. She ended up having a brain bleed literally the day before we were supposed to leave the country for a vacation. And let me tell you, it was so scary. That is, oh my gosh, I don't know how many of you have had to deal with kind of like having a parent experience like a near-death experience, strokes, heart attacks, like any of those things. Brain bleed is obviously like super critical. I guess I can just kind of like share a little bit about the power of prayer, because that's kind of like what I wanted to share in this video as well. I don't even know where to start. Essentially, timing. I'm actually in the middle of finalizing a book that God gave me back in like 2017. And its title is Prayer Warrior. And I focus on all the different testimonies that I've had with like prayer, from like God giving me words for people to me being able to see people literally like be completely unconscious and appear dead, to then become basically have like breath in their lungs again and be alive, all with the power of prayer and me praying over them and stuff like that. And it's really neat testimonies that really span like a 10-year period. And for one of the closing chapters I'm focusing on is really around some of the elements of prayer and the importance of praying even when it's difficult, or even when you've like lost your way and stuff like that, all of that, right? Timing, because legitimately this happened at a time where I was probably working a bit more than I should have. It really required me to kind of stop doing everything and just really focus on praying for my mom and interceding for her, even though it was really difficult, and using a lot of the practices that I had already learned in my book and that I'm sharing with others in my book. I was actually able, even in the midst of like writing and everything, able to use that which God has already revealed to me for myself. So it was like, and I guess like now thinking about it honestly, like God, usually for testimonies that like God wants to like use you to like share with others, you have to walk through yourself. So it's interesting about the timing piece that it was through this testimony that I'm about to share with you that I was actually able to finalize a particular section of that chapter, which is essentially an aspect of being a prayer warrior, is also having a prayer community, and making sure that you're praying in community. Because honestly, had I not had that community that was praying with me and praying for me and interceding on my behalf and sending me scriptures and sending me things that God had placed on their hearts, like I really do believe that things may have turned out differently. So I'm so grateful for God using this situation to strengthen the book that he's placed on my heart to share with other people to strengthen their prayer walks. And I'm also very grateful to share this testimony that is one of the biggest reasons why I've been off of YouTube for, the most kind of like, most recent few weeks. So like I was saying, my mom had a headache for a while, and I was like, hey, like, you need to go to the hospital. Like, this isn't, at this point, it's been a week. Like, you're weak, you're seeing double vision, like all of this. Long story short, rather, she ended up getting like CAT scans, all that stuff, and then they were like, wait, you have a brain bleed, we need to like send you to the ER. And then from the ER, they were like, we need to send you to ICU. So she was in ICU, and all of this happened literally the day before we were supposed to go out of the country. So we already had this booked from like a year and a half ago, way before COVID. And then it got rebooked because of COVID to that date. And so we had to like cancel everything. And right now, as you all know from a few videos ago, my husband and I are in Los Angeles. My mom actually lives in the Bay. So we had to drive up there, and we were just in ICU with her, me, my sister, our niece and nephew, and Anthony. And we were all just there. And before, like the night that the same day that she went in the hospital, I broke down about 1 or 2 times, and no one knew except for Anthony and God. And it was just so emotional. It's just, you don't know what's going on. Like, you're just like, okay, let me be optimistic, but then maybe I shouldn't be optimistic because maybe something bad will happen. But you're like, no, I know I have the favor of the Lord, like all of these different emotions, right? So, I'm saying my own prayer, Anthony's saying his own prayer, we're praying together, we're hearing updates, and as the updates progressively get worse, like, oh, she's in the hospital, she's being sent to ICU. To ER. Oh, she's in the ER, she's being sent to ICU. It's a brain bleed. It's like, as the updates get progressively worse throughout the night, then my heart just becomes way heavier. It just does. And I started to feel the weight. And then, we obviously had to tell my 2 sisters, and I was okay for my first sister, who I told, but then, she kind of tried to like deconstruct her emotions, and I'm like, I can't right now. And then my other sister called, and she already knew at this point, but then we ended up getting in an argument, and I didn't handle that with the best of care. And I'm being vulnerable with y'all because it's actually that situation that sparked an internal evaluation of who is your source right now, Marlysa, in this situation? Is your source fear, or is it faith? Is it yourself? Is it flesh? Or is it God? And I had to ask myself that, because the way that things had been going, and this is just the first night, it was not sustainable. So I woke up early that morning, and I just spent 2 or 3 hours just praying with God. It was me and God, and we just were praying. And all of the distractions away, my phone away. I'm not looking at updates. I'm not looking at anything. I just need direction. Because at that point, being the oldest, I was the leader, in the situation. And it was just a lot. It was a lot. And it was like, I don't know what to do. I literally don't know what to do. There are decisions I have to make, and I don't know what to do. And I don't know how I can be sustained, given the fact that last night I literally just blew up on my sister. And that's not sustainable. It's just not. For me to be short-tempered, for me to be agitated, for me to be frustrated. And it's like, we're all hurting in this situation, right? What does godly stewardship look like in this situation, right? What does having godly energy look like? And what does being sustained by God look like? What does having the love of God look like? And the faith of God and the comfort of God and the peace of God and the armor of God in this situation? What does all of that look like? I needed to find in the throne room. So I was just praying and I was just asking for words and guidance. And in the beginning, I was a little frustrated because I was like, okay, Lord, like I've been praying for like 45 minutes straight and I've gotten nothing, you know? And so I continue to pray, I'm journaling, and then finally like God's revealing a lot of things to me. One of which is the fact that, you know, my leadership needs to be built from a place of Jesus and not from any place else. Because it's only from God filling me up that I can then give to others. It's only from God like giving me wisdom that I can then project that wisdom into the situation and insert that and lead and direct it the way that I need to, and the way that honors God, and the way that's the smartest, because guess what? God knows everything and I don't, right? I'm just human. And then also too, something that God revealed to me that's very specific to me and my personality is that I need to serve, to be there for my mom and to be there for my family in a place of servant leadership, right? A servant heart as opposed to a savior heart, right? And by that just being the fact that like I'm the oldest, like I usually like take things on and I'm like, oh, like, well, no one else can do it, like, and all that stuff. And it's like, no, like God's giving me the permission to be in a position to serve. And that is different than being like, I'm the only one who can do this. And one is from a place of freedom because it's, oh, God's giving this to me and I'm relying on God to continue to fulfill this will, versus the other is like so fleshly and very dangerous. And it can build up bitterness, like how I was building up that bitterness against my sister. It could build up that bitterness and resentment because you're likely probably doing all of the stuff to address the situation, all that. That's another conversation. But that's one of the things that God was revealing to me. And in it, after then, I was just reminded of my chapters. And in one of my chapters, like I was saying it in Prayer Warrior, the book that I'm writing, it talks about one of the characteristics of being a prayer warrior and to strengthen your prayer walk is to have a prayer community. So God reminded me of that, and I was just like, okay. So I texted all of the people who are in my spiritual family, and I told them what was going on, and I told them how I needed covering over myself, over my leadership, and over my mom. And they started interceding, and there was literally about 50 people who were interceding in prayer. And it was just so powerful because they had words for me that was specific to me in my situation that I knew was from God. They gave me spiritual support, which was helpful because, you know, I don't feel like I really have that in my previous immediate family, like outside of Anthony. Like, I don't really have that like spiritual support. So it was so good having that, knowing that they were just not being like, oh yeah, I'll pray for you and like forget, like that they were literally on their knees the moment I asked them to pray. The fact that they were in the Bible and they were asking for scripture specifically for me, and that they were crying on their knees, on their face, just to God, just asking for things for my mom and healing and everything like that. And it was just an awe. It renewed my leadership, and it helped me really overcome a lot of the emotions and the baggage that I was holding on to, because it was like, no, like, again, this is the way that spiritual leadership looks like with God. You're in connection to other believers who also love God and who are there for you and who are praying on behalf of you and in solidarity with you and interceding, for and with you. this is part of what spiritual leadership is. And part of spiritual wisdom is also knowing when to lean in and ask for support. And the fact that, I was able to do that is just so amazing. And it's just such a testimony. And I truly do believe that it's as a result of all this. Literally, there was an army of 50 amazing prayer warriors who were on my side, who were lifting my mom up, who were lifting me up. They were lifting my family up. And, within a few days, they saw my mom's situation of a brain bleed turn around, where, she was in the ICU. She was in critical condition, but they were like, she is not going to die. She is going to live. Okay. And that's exactly the word that my husband had, that God would be patient with her and would heal her. So, it was that, within a few days we saw that. And then they were talking about, she's actually, it wasn't an aneurysm. It was a brain bleed. And we think it was actually this particular syndrome where it only happens like once in your lifetime. So she should be fine. She was getting the best care. That was also something that we were praying about, because being a Black woman, we have and continue to experience just crazy racism in the healthcare system. And that's exactly one of the reasons why she was apprehensive about going to the hospital as well. And she just experienced amazing healthcare. Everyone was so nice. She had gourmet meals, all of that, crazy service, crazy support. All of her team was just so amazing, so centering her and her needs and everything. Support I've never seen before, Ephesians 3:20 level of support in the hospital. Our family came together. My aunt was doing different things. My other aunt was doing different things. My sister was doing different things. I was doing different things. My husband was doing different things. People were coming together in understanding and in love and in prayer. It was just beautiful. It was just so beautiful. And, she was making recovery at a higher pace than what they were expecting. And it was just amazing. The fourth day of her being in the ICU, she was brushing her teeth. And for any of you who understand health issues or anything like that, a brain bleed is considered a level of a stroke. So my grandmother, who is late now and no longer with us, when she had a stroke, it took her a few months to get to a place of being able to talk, let alone being able to do motor skills, brush her teeth and stuff. My mom was able to do that within 4 days. My mom was able to talk. My mom remembered us. Usually with strokes, you lose your memory. My mom was able to remember us. My mom was able to remember what happened last week, what happened the week before, what happened 2 years ago, what happened 20 years ago, all of that stuff, be able to identify us and stuff. And it was just wow, right? Fast forward to, she ended up having to do rehab, right? Again, just great support. Again, that was part of our prayers. And it's just so amazing to think that at first they were 2 to 3 weeks. And it kept going back between 3 weeks and 2 weeks, 3 weeks and 2 weeks. She was in there. She was only in there for a week because they were we can't have her anymore because she's so high functioning. She needs to actually be with y'all so that she can have outpatient care. That's a huge testimony. That is a huge testimony. And she's walking, she's feeding herself, she's able to talk, she's able to bathe herself, she's able to have her balance, she's able to have a lot more of her energy and personality back. She went to church with us. She has that energy now, right? And yes, there's still things, this is going to be a journey. It's going to be a long journey, but the fact is that she's accelerating. It has been Ephesians 3:20 acceleration on her life, which honestly, I have to say, I know for a fact that is because of the power of Jesus. I know for a fact that is because of the power of prayer. I know for a fact it's because of the power of community intercession on behalf of both, like on behalf of my prayer community, interceding for her and interceding for me. And the fact that my leadership has really been able to continue to flourish because it's not me running on me. It's the source is God, and God's provided different provisions and different with people in my life over the last several weeks to help me through and be like, hey, like the power of delegation, like, maybe you can take a mental break, and then Anthony can do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, that's great. Or my aunt volunteering to take over the updates to family to where we could have a break before my mom came and, stayed with us and stuff like that, It's really been a collective thing. And even to this day, I have people texting me and seeing how I'm doing. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Like, thank you. I'm sharing this for a variety of reasons because one, it explains why I haven't been on YouTube for a while. And two, it also just shares a testimony of the power of prayer, and really the importance of spiritual community and faithfulness and just, providing encouragement. Maybe you have gone through a similar thing, or maybe you might go through a similar thing in the next couple of months or the next couple of years. And you can turn back to this for a source of encouragement that miracles happen, and the power of prayer is not something to be taken lightly. It is something that is so powerful, and believers have the power to usher in the power of God in any situation at any given time, for any given season, and for any given reason. And I just want to encourage everyone, there might be certain things right now, even that you're like, oh, this situation seems too big or too overwhelming or too stressful. And you're operating on empty because you're operating from your flesh and you're not actually operating from a place of that, like God being your source. I invite you to do what I did and have an extended prayer session and reorient your heart's posture towards the situation and be like, okay, Lord, what do I need and how do you want me to be in this situation? How can I be a reflection within the situation? Because there was Jesus-like leadership that I was able to exhibit after, or there was like earthly, evil, conniving, stressful, agitated leadership that I was starting and on the verge of demonstrating had I not checked myself early on that first night. And that, again, is not sustainable. It's not. And it's not helpful for anyone. And it's not a place where we can actually strengthen our faith walk and we can kind of go deeper and into where God's calling us for that season. But the other is, because guess what? If we're doing Jesus-like leadership, then our source is God. Our source is God. Our foundation is God. Our comfort system is God. Our barometer for interacting, valuing, and loving the people in the situation is God. So I just want to encourage everyone and give that big update to also explain, hey, there's grace in the fact that I needed to put family first over the last couple of weeks. And I think at this point, I'll be resuming with some of the interior design stuff. But there might be some times where I might have like maybe some like meal preps with my mom, since, right now we're trying to make sure that like her brain is like fully recovering and making sure that it's like, still like fun but healthy like food options for her. So I might go ahead and do some meal prep. We might do like a day in the shoes of me and my mom, like as she's recovering. I think I'm gonna probably end up doing a video of like what it means to be a caregiver God's way and ways to set boundaries for caregivers, because as you might have learned from me alluding, our mom is staying with us for recovery for now. So Anthony and I are both in a place of caregiving. So I'd love to just kind of share that with you all and keep you all kind of updated with my journey as I'm learning more about really what it means to go deeper in faith, what it means to go deeper in spiritual community, and what it means to go deeper in what it in the definition of servant leader, like how Jesus was. So thank you so much for watching this. I look forward to resuming our weekly videos on Thursday. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.